It was a night that carried the weight of silence heavier than any storm, and the rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the broken streets of the city, carrying with it whispers of lives unnoticed, unheard, and abandoned, and somewhere in this vast, indifferent world, a tiny kitten crouched under the dim flicker of a dying streetlight, her small body trembling not just from the cold, not just from the soaking rain, but from a deep, unspoken fear that no one would ever stop to notice her, no one would ever care enough to offer shelter, warmth, or even a glance, and as the droplets slid down her fragile fur, mixing with the tears she could not hold back, the echoes of passing footsteps mocked her silence, each step a reminder that the world had moved on without her, that the lives of the busy, the careless, and the unaware continued, unbothered by the soft, almost imperceptible sounds of a life struggling for survival, and yet, she did not give up, because in the core of every living being, there is an instinct that refuses to surrender, an instinct that pushes even the smallest, weakest of creatures to cling to hope, to breathe, to continue, and as she lifted her head, wet whiskers sticking to her trembling face, she looked around with wide, pleading eyes, eyes that spoke volumes without a single sound, eyes that could have melted even the hardest hearts if only someone had paused, if only someone had looked closely enough, and in that moment, it seemed as if the city itself had turned away, indifferent to the plight of one insignificant life, one tiny being who, in the grand scheme of existence, might seem invisible, yet contained within her fragile frame was the echo of a story that would not remain unnoticed forever. As the hours dragged on, the storm seemed to intensify, the rain pounding on the asphalt with a rhythm that mimicked the rapid heartbeat of the kitten, each beat a silent cry for help that went unanswered, and the wind howled through broken windows and down empty alleys, carrying with it the scent of wet concrete, wet leaves, and wet despair, and in that endless, gloomy night, there was a moment when even the brave would have faltered, a moment when survival seemed a distant dream, and yet, she lifted herself slightly, trembling, soaked to the bone, every muscle screaming in protest, yet moving forward because survival, no matter how fragile, demanded a small step, and then another, each step a testament to resilience that is often unnoticed, a courage that is quiet, almost invisible, yet profound in its simplicity, and as she took these steps, she passed shadows of people who did not see her, did not care, their hurried movements a stark contrast to the silence of her struggle, and the contrast of human indifference to animal perseverance created a scene so real, so raw, that it seemed almost like a moral test, a question posed to the universe, who would rise to notice, to intervene, to make a difference. And just as despair seemed about to claim her, just as the night had swallowed hope whole, a sudden, soft glow appeared at the far end of the alley, faint at first, like the shy flicker of a distant star, growing gradually, illuminating the puddles, the cracked walls, and the dripping leaves with an otherworldly light, a light that seemed to carry promise, warmth, and a silent whisper that said, "You are not alone," and as the kitten's eyes reflected this glow, her tiny body stiffened, a mixture of fear and curiosity rooting her to the spot, and from that luminous shimmer emerged a figure, not human, not ordinary, but something extraordinary, something that seemed both magical and real, a being whose presence demanded attention, whose aura suggested that the story of this night was about to change, and that the life of one tiny, desperate creature was about to intersect with something beyond comprehension. This was the AI magic cat, a being whose neon blue and pink glow radiated softly yet powerfully, casting shadows and lights that danced across the wet pavement, a creature whose eyes held wisdom, empathy, and a silent understanding of the pain, suffering, and loneliness that the world had inflicted upon one innocent soul, and as it stepped closer, the air around seemed to soften, the rain slowing, almost hesitant to fall upon the meeting of these two lives, and the kitten, sensing something unfamiliar yet safe, lifted her trembling head, her small heart beating rapidly, as if recognizing an ally in the most unexpected form, and in that moment, a silent dialogue passed between them, not through words, but through gestures, glances, and the language of hope. The AI magic cat moved with deliberate grace, each step measured, each motion exuding calm, patience, and understanding, and when it reached the kitten, it extended a gentle paw, a soft, radiant glow brushing against the soaked fur, and the tiny creature flinched instinctively, yet curiosity and trust overcame fear, and as the paw touched her, warmth surged through her, a sensation she had never known, a feeling that perhaps, just perhaps, not all beings are indifferent, that there exists a force capable of care, of rescue, of love, even in the darkest corners of a city that seems blind to its smallest inhabitants, and the kitten, slowly, hesitantly, moved closer, her steps wavering but persistent, guided by an instinct she could not name, trusting in this new presence, in this luminous companion who had appeared as if summoned by fate itself. And so the story continued, One step after another, under the gentle glow of the AI magic cat, down alleys that had known only despair, across puddles that had reflected only loneliness, towards a place that promised safety, warmth, and shelter, and each movement, each heartbeat, each breath of these two beings intertwined in a continuous narrative, a flow of life, courage, hope, and silent triumph that no human eye had yet witnessed, yet that carried a message far beyond the rain-soaked streets, that even in the darkest night, even when indifference seems absolute, a single act, a single presence, a single spark of hope can transform despair into survival, weakness into strength, and fear into trust, and that the stories that truly matter are often those that unfold in silence, in shadows, in moments unseen, yet resonate louder than any loud declaration ever could, because the language of empathy, courage, and love is universal, unbound by words, age, or species, and it is in this silent conversation, this continuous dance of trust and resilience, that we find the heartbeat of life itself.